Hello Chasitopians, and welcome back to my channel.
Don't you wanna vibe just one more time, baby? Don't you miss having me by your side? When we used to ride, all night. All you gotta do is hit my line one more time. You know I'll come through and help you ease your mind.
It is so great to see you guys back here on my channel, thriving and surviving this pandemic and quarantine. I'm so glad to be here talking to you guys. Like, I would be going crazy if I didn't have this channel started. Like, I wouldn't know what to do. Anyways, as you saw in the thumbnail today, I want to talk about toxicity. I feel like there's just a lot of confusion as to what toxicity is and what it actually relates to and how you can purge it from your life, because like there's not a magic spell, but there are things you can change that can contribute to your well-being. Before we get started, don't forget that you can like, comment, and subscribe to my channel if you like what you're hearing, you like what you see. I really appreciate the support and all the love that I've been getting recently. Just don't forget to comment down below and let me know what you want to hear about next. All right, so let's get straight to it. Toxic. Everybody's talking about toxicity, purging your life of toxicity, getting away from toxicity, but like, what does it actually mean, and like, what actually is toxicity? Okay, so the literal definition of toxic is poisonous. Poisonous. So like, something can be completely beautiful, like a flower, an animal, food. It can be completely beautiful and harmless in appearance and just magnificent, but it's poisonous, which makes it toxic. So having poison is what makes you toxic. It has a lot to do with your actions, the actions of others, and like their intentions and like your intentions. You know, you can be a completely good person with great intentions, reach for a toxic apple, and then eat that toxic apple, and now you've become toxic. So that's really what you have to think about before you get into like actually decoding toxicity and like what it is. Like, toxic is not always something that you knowingly bring onto yourself, but after a while, you know, you take one bite of the apple and you know it's poison right away because it tastes disgusting, or you're feeling like lightheaded, but then you just keep eating the apple because you're hungry. And that's where we get into the problem with toxicity, is that we just feed off of it sometimes. And I think like when we learn how to distinguish between pure and toxic, like that helps a lot in determining like what relationships you need to cut off, what relationships you need to keep, what you need to work on, and just things like that. Because you know, the answer to everything is not just cut ties. Sometimes it's a different answer. And I think that's important to just kind of analyze that. So really what I did was I went into my mind and I thought of 5 things that are in my life that could be potentially toxic or poisonous, and I wrote them down, and I wrote down some alternative things that I can think of or withdraw to in those times when I feel like, hey, this is toxic, like I need to like tone this down a lot or get rid of it completely. And I took those 5 things and I wrote alternatives to them, and I just want to go over those 5 things real quick so that maybe you can use them as examples in your own life. So what I'm mainly focusing on is like communities, people, and behaviors, attitudes that are toxic in my life. So the first thing I wrote down on my list was settling. The biggest contributor to toxicity is settling. Comfort. You get comfortable with something, you're like, whatever. Like I said, the apple's delicious, it's making you full, right? So you're just gonna keep eating it, even though you know later you're gonna regret eating it. So like all the toxic relationship stuff that I've been through has really been through the wash several times, and like I found it hard to separate what I did wrong from what he did wrong, from what we both did wrong. And honestly, it doesn't matter now, but it does, because it's still in my heart. You know how you have something that just resonates with you. And so I began this journey back in August of finding myself and revamping myself and making myself better. So then when November came around, I was like, I'm ready to do this, dive full into this relationship and just be better and be resilient and like not let anything knock us down. Like, our communication is gonna be better, our love is gonna be better, just everything's gonna be better all around. And in the end, I realized it wasn't necessarily all me, you know, even though a lot of people would tell me it was all me, and I'm that people-pleasing person. So if I have to apologize, I will apologize. Even if I know it's not going to do anything, I'll apologize, because I'm that people-pleasing person. And I think it's just important to recognize, number one, like with settling, you're not the only one. You're not the only one who's settling, because the other person is settling for a dysfunctional relationship. That may be like a mother-daughter relationship, a father-son relationship, sisterly relationship, sibling relationship, romantic relationship, relationship, a friendship. Like, settling because you're comfortable is dangerous. So the alternative I have to settling is solitude. And I think that's important because being by yourself is not the end of the world. And I think a lot of people have to realize that being by yourself is not the end of the world. After my recent breakup, there was a whole month where it was like, I didn't have communication with anybody really. I didn't talk to Chris. I didn't really talk to anybody. I mean, I did my 3 days of grieving. I made a video about it and that was it. I went on with the rest of my life. Yeah, there was little things that were like, oh, let's spark some more bull in your life, Chastity. But it was just like, whatever, I'm at peace. Whatever feelings you're having is insecurity, is unhappiness, is feeling discomfort, and you need to take that up with somebody else because it's not my problem anymore. Solitude became my new normal. Being by myself became my new normal, and since then it's branched out to more things than just my relationship. Like, when I'm at home, I'm fine being by myself. I'm fine going for a run by myself. I'm fine going to the grocery store by myself, driving by myself. And it used to be so uncomfortable for me to be alone, and I just learned being alone is not the end of the world. And that's something my mom kind of told me too, because she just doesn't go out a lot, she doesn't do a lot of stuff, but she said, like, it's okay to be alone, like, especially if you're being used or you're settling. Like, it's okay to be by yourself. Wouldn't you rather be by yourself and give yourself that energy and love and happiness and joy rather than just constantly feeding into this dark pit that's never gonna love you back? Like, it just makes sense to stop settling and go ahead and reverse and love yourself and be alone. Like, being alone is not the end of the world. I'd rather be alone now looking back than be in some of the relationships that I was in before. Being alone gives you time to think, revamp, realign, just get refreshed and just really know yourself now. I knew myself when I was 14. I had this feeling all this time that I hadn't grown up. I just felt the same. And now I'm really starting to feel more like, okay, I'm more mature, I'm older. Like, I'm really starting to feel this new vibe, this new Chastity. And like, it's been everything, having this time of solitude and just peace and just new perception. And I think everybody needs to go through that at least one time in their life. Just refining yourself and being okay in solitude. Okay, so my next point is obligation is toxic. I am the queen of obligation. I feel like I have to do stuff for people. I feel like I'm responsible for a lot of things that they don't even have anything to do with me. Then there's the other side of it where you feel like somebody is obligated to you. And that's where it gets sticky for me, because it's kind of like, I expect people to check on me, I expect people to call, I expect people to show up, and then they don't. And it's back to the sadness of like, well, I thought you were supposed to be there for me, I thought you were supposed to support me. And like, that's something really important that I've learned, that they don't have to show up for me. So the alternative that I found for obligation is choosing to be present. It kind of goes back to the solitude point, because you have to realize that you're showing up for this person because you want to, not because they've asked you to or because they've made a big deal about it. Like, you're showing up because you find joy in being there for this person, or you find joy in being there for yourself. And that's super important, because it's like, as much as you beg somebody for attention or you beg somebody to be there for you, like, end of the day, they're not obligated, but they can choose to be present. And that'll help you narrow it down a lot. Like, if they're not choosing to be present in your life, do they really have your best interest at heart? Do they really take pride in knowing that you're a person who has motives, who has dreams, who has goals and aspirations that they want to reach? Like, does that person really truly support who you are as a person if they're not choosing for themselves to show up for you? It kind of also goes into another point that I'm going to talk about later, which is family. And we just assume that our relatives are supposed to show up for us, and they're not obligated to do it. And it's tough, it's ridiculous that it has to be like that. But sometimes it's just better to understand now, like, nobody's obligated to you. Nobody has an obligation to you. You're born in this world, you're on your own, you're in solitude. So nobody has an obligation to show up for you. And it's just easier if you go ahead and understand that and you just show up for yourself every time. It'll make you so much stronger in the end. My third point is going to be expectations are toxic. A lot of times other people shadow their dreams and ambitions and goals and like their thoughts onto us. And it's very frustrating, because you're your own person and you've grown into your own person, and you want them to understand that, but they're not choosing to understand you on a higher level. And it's really, really frustrating, especially when you're trying so hard to climb out of this place that you've been in for a long time, and you're finally like, no. Self-acceptance, like self-awareness. I know what I want to do. I know what I want to be. I know all this stuff. And it's just important that you just let go of the expectations thing. Like, people are always going to expect you to do stuff. They're going to expect you to overreact, underreact. They're going to expect you to go off, not go off. They have expectations for you, no matter who you are, where you are, what your platform is. And you just have to understand that the only expectations that matter are yours. The alternative that I've chosen to expectations is encouragement, because a lot of times people get confused between the two. Expecting someone to do something and encouraging them to do something are two different things, because expecting means that you think that they're going to go through with this thing. Encouraging means you would like for them to go through with this thing. You're voicing your opinion, but at the end of the day, you're like, okay, it's up to you. It's your life. And that's important. Going back to that family thing, a lot of families have expectations for their children, or the children in their family, and a lot of children have expectations for their parents, and things don't go that way, and it gets ugly. And it's just important to revamp and go back to this. Instead of expecting your child to be this thing, encourage them to follow their heart, or encourage them to do what they feel is right, or encourage them to do something that benefits them or makes them feel whole. It's hard, especially when you want to maintain a specific image, or your family's maintaining a specific image, or like your friends or whoever you're around is maintaining a specific image. They're expecting you to maintain that specific image as well, and you're just going the complete opposite way. I totally understand that. It's like you're just rubbing against each other the wrong way, and I go through that on a daily basis, rubbing against people the wrong way, because I'm finally figuring out this self-love thing. And it's not a bad thing, it's just a sign of growth. I think that the alternative to having expectations for people is encouraging them, and at the end of the day, understanding their choices rather than shooting them down. This can go for relationships too, because I know I expected a lot. Not to say that I didn't get a lot, I did. I got a lot out of my relationship, but I expected a lot more. I expect a lot more now out of relationships. And that's dangerous, you know, but I'm getting into the habit of encouraging rather than expecting. But I can't shape people. I can't shape who they are and what they know and what they do. I can only hope and encourage. And one more thing that I think is important about that is encouragement shouldn't be selfish. It shouldn't be self-centered. It should be a push in the right direction, a support, knowing that someone is behind you, them telling you, hey, I respect your decision and I'm encouraging you to do your thing. All right, a big one I want to hit on, because me and my friends were talking about this in a podcast actually. Family is very, 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 very toxic. The word is toxic. The actual group of people can be toxic. Whatever you refer to as family can be so toxic, and it's not fair because they're your family, and it's difficult to separate that from your own self. And it gets to be very jumbled and just a really ugly situation if you don't know how to deal with that family toxicity in a positive way. So just because you're born into a family doesn't mean anything, actually. It just means those are the people that are related to you, the people that chose to bring you here, and they do have ulterior motives for your life automatically. Like when your baby is born, you think there's plans, I know how this is gonna go, this is how I'm gonna raise my children. That gets ugly because some kids grow up and they face culture and they decide they don't want to be what their parents had planned for them to be initially or had hoped that they'd be. Love is unconditional. I can't stress that enough. If somebody says they love you, then they love all of you, every part of you, no matter who you are, what you believe in, what you're doing, they love you, and it's unconditional. They're not going to stop loving you because of anything. And if someone says that they love you, then you shouldn't have to question their loyalty to you. They should just be there to love you. And if they're not, then they don't really love you unconditionally. They love you if you're doing this. They love you if you believe in this. They love you if this is your thing. And my mom had to explain that to me, because a lot of times, like now that I'm moving into this new phase, I've been scared because my support has been from this specific group of people, and I've been people pleasing. I'm not gonna lie about it anymore. I've been people pleasing, and it's difficult to confront that because you don't want to be like, oh, I'm a people pleaser, and you don't want to be like, oh, I've been real this whole time, because you haven't been real this whole time. And I wasn't completely being fake. I was just saying all the right things, doing all the right things to make people believe that I was this thing, and I'm not completely that person. And I'm saying this because my ex-boyfriend told me this a lot. Like, he's like, you can't be two people. And it gets kind of confusing for me because I am biracial. And I'm not trying to blame that on anything, but like, that in itself is a big project, figuring out the biracial thing. Because if you don't have a supportive family, it gets ugly. It gets really ugly. But he was like, you can't be these two different people. You've got to pick who you are, what you stand for, and stick with it. And that's become really important for me in this journey. Like, I know he thinks that I don't think about the things that he says to me, but I do, because they make sense. That I can't be two people. I can't be two-faced. I gotta be real. And so that's why when I started this YouTube channel, I said, okay, I'm gonna be 100% transparent here, because that's important to me, that people know I'm being transparent, I'm being real, and I am. If you check my vlogs, you check my social media, I'm not saying anything different here that I say over there. Super important in self-care and self-love, like being true to yourself. So back to the point, like, if being true to yourself is agitating to your family, then your family's not really supporting you, your family's not really there for you, and that's okay. It hurts, it stings, it bothers you, it eats you up, it eats you alive, because all you want is for your family to love you and support you and just be there for you. But like, we can't always please our families. So that's why my alternative for family is supporters in general. That can be your church members, that can be your motivators, co-workers, friends, community groups, followers, anybody who you look to for support can be your family. I just want to use the word supporters rather than family, you know, because family is supposed to mean something deeper, but if you don't have that, it's important to just say, you know, supporters, encouragers, people who motivate me. And those people can become more important than your family is in your life, because if your family is constantly putting these negative thoughts in your mind, negative just energies, attitudes, everything, forget it. Not saying forget them, because they are your family. Like, in a respectful way, say, hey, this is who I am. If you can't get with it, like, sorry. Be apologetic, but don't apologize for who you are, because who you are makes you beautiful, makes you unique, makes you amazing. And just say, okay, you're my family, but there are people out here who are supporting me. There are people out here who are loving on me and what I'm trying to do and what I'm working towards. And that's okay if you don't understand it, if you choose not to understand it, if you choose not to be open-minded, that's okay. But I'm letting you know that I'm setting that boundary. Boundaries are so important when it comes to toxicity, because if people don't try to understand you or they don't try to get with it, like, boom, I don't need you in my life in that capacity. I think I want to do a separate video on family, actually, because that's just a really big, broad topic, and I don't think I can cover everything I want to say right now. But like, it's just like having, like, people think blood is just so important, and it is when it's used in the right context. Just because somebody's blood doesn't make them your family, and that's important to understand. Just think about abusive relationships, like your mom's beating you every day. Like, that's not okay, that's toxic. And you think, oh well, that's my mom, so I have to love and respect her. Yeah, that's true, but boundaries. I can't have you in my life in this capacity because you're dangerous to my health. You're toxic to my life. You're poisonous to me. You go back and look in yourself and fix yourself and acknowledge what you've done. That's different. That's a different story if somebody wants to fix themselves. But if somebody is constantly downing you, telling you stuff that's not true, not encouraging you to love, not encouraging you to be open-minded, not encouraging you to be happy, to have happiness, if somebody's not encouraging you to do that, then are they really your family? And are they really choosing, like, are they really supporting you? Because honestly, if something makes you happy and they see that joy inside of you and the way that you light up when you have that happiness, they're going to be happy too. It's going to contribute to their overall happiness, and they're going to be happy for you, and they're going to want to support this because they see that glow, they see that look in your eyes, and they want you to feel that way forever. And so they're going to automatically be like, oh, of course, I love you, I support you in every way. Even if it's not what I like, I support you because I see how happy it makes you. When you choose to stop being a mental slave to that toxicity of family, and like this idea that family it has to be the people that you're related to, your life's gonna change. Because it's like, you might have family, but they have ideas that you don't agree with, but you don't say that out loud. You're kind of in the background like, And I guess once you get rid of that, set your new boundaries, stuff's gonna change for you. You're gonna prosper and you're gonna grow and you're gonna manifest. My fifth and final point is going to be shame is toxic. Guilt and shame are toxic. Shame can be a lot of things. It can be embarrassment, it can be guilt, it can be like frustration. I think a lot of shame comes from like the unknown, because if you don't know, then you're like, crap. The alternative that I have for shame today is growth and learning, because when you're growing and learning, you're acknowledging that shame and you're growing from it. We fail to see shame, failure, and guilt as an opportunity to grow and just change for the better. Maybe you're ashamed of the way you reacted to something. You're ashamed of the way that you acted before. You're ashamed of an action that you took. Don't be ashamed of it. Don't let it hold you down. Don't let it drag you. Just take it, analyze it, be analytical with your shame. Be analytical with your guilt. And learn from it. Literally, write all the things that you can learn from it. I know I used to write these poems when I was in middle school, and I called them "So Thank You" poems. And what I would do is I would write down the person's name that had hurt me. I would write down all these things, like what they'd done to me and the benefits that I reaped because of them. I even did one for my dad at one point, and that's another story for another day. But I did one for my dad at one point. I was like, "Dear Dad, like, you did this, 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 and this. But thank you for showing me this greater picture." Those helped me manifest and grow in the best way, because I would take the negative things that had happened to me and I would turn them into positive things. Maybe you went on a freaking anger spree. You just went on a warpath. You've already done the damage. So what you do is you apologize. And like I said, family is toxic. Expectation is toxic. You apologize and you carry that with you, that apology, and you do it in all sincerity. And that's all you can do to fix that situation. The rest is upon the other person. And you can't expect them to feel better about it. You can't expect them to just automatically like accept you and love you again because you've hurt them. And if it was vice versa, you'd probably put up a fight too. And you have to start to understand both sides. That's that. And you learn from it. You don't do it again. You don't do it again. You be analytical, pull out the good things that came from it, and you learn and you grow and you keep going. And even if that person never wants to speak to you again, never forgives you, whatever, that's their baggage to hold. That's their crap to deal with now. And you take that and you grow with it and you learn with it and you manifest, and it's going to do a world of difference for you. So my advice to you would be stop carrying on that shame, stop carrying on that guilt, stop carrying around that discomfort, and just let it go, grow from it, remember it, never forget it, but just push it back a little bit and start to manifest and grow from it. I think this topic was way, way, way important because I think I'm analyzing toxicity a lot myself right now and just realizing like who's there for me, who's not, who I'm letting go of, who I'm keeping, what capacity I'm keeping them in, and all the things that have gone on in the last 4 years of my life basically. And just like I'm unpacking all of it now and it's making so much sense. All these lessons that I'm learning along the way, and like I'm completely inexperienced in life. I'm 21 years old. There's nothing that I know really for a fact, but sharing these personal experiences with you, like this is how I'm learning how to deal with this and my coping mechanism and just the tools that I've gathered over time of fixing myself. The stuff that I use on the daily to deal with my baggage and my past. We've all been somebody else before, and I just think it's important to be open about it and just share my story and just be vocal about it. It's super important because I know there's other people out there going through the same thing and they're like, my life's so toxic. Like, how do I purge it? How do I clean it out? Like, and how do I do it without hurting the people that I love? And that's what I think is really important about this topic, is dealing with toxicity in a positive way and not letting it affect the people that you love in a negative way. Not on your part anyways. Whatever they do with it, that's their decision. But I think dealing with toxicity in a positive way and learning how to just compartmentalize that and just fix it, like, is everything. That's all I have for you guys today. Like I said, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel if you like what you see. And don't forget to share, because I want to reach as many people as I can with these messages and just help as many people as I can figure out what's going on and how to get through life. All right, Chasitopians, I will see you next time. Adios. Mwah!